All right, folks. You see what Sheets Brothers Coffee. What a way to warm up your day. As he is, Bob Dvorak, and as he is, Greg Diolis. Coffee handed back to them, and now I'm going to also hand them the ball. We'll talk Steelers Browns. Game just underway. First Energy in Cleveland. Steelers right now giving the Browns 11. I earlier, with Walking the Line that Ted Arnaud has made famous, I predicted, as we always do, 5 of the top games in the National Football League, as we will in the postseason. Leading up to the big game, we pick our winners against the spread. I took the Steelers despite giving so many points. The Browns are a complete mess. Greg Diolis in his Cleveland Brown Orange today.
Well analyzed with the definition of the Browns. They are really a mess.
No, you actually said that on the program earlier. I just told your line.
The organization is just so bad. My goodness gracious! It's and they're good people. The play. I got a couple of kids on their roster. They are good guys, but man, it's just so hard to find any light at the end of that tunnel there. I think the Steelers are going to take care of their business today. The return of Ross Ventrone to the Steelers special teams today, Rob. So we'd like to shout out to Ross and see him a little scoop and go maybe for a touchdown today.
The real reason he's still playing in the league, it's because of, well, performance enhancing Sarah's candy, ladies and gentlemen. He loves the folks in Cannonsburg, and they love him. So we wish him nothing but sweet success. Get it? Cannonsburg, candy, sweet success. Okay, Dvorak. The Cleveland Browns. Whatever happened to Paul Brown? Whatever happened to Jim Brown? Whatever happened to that legacy that was Cleveland? I've actually seen some signs saying that I wish the Modell family would come back to Cleveland. They just can't get it together since they've become an expansion team, now pushing 20 years back in the league.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with that because having lost the franchise and then trying to reinvent it. It just hasn't worked. They haven't had the franchise quarterback. They haven't had stability in the front office. They haven't had any stability on the sidelines, and it's just been an uphill slog. And it was such a good football town. There are all the jokes about Cleveland and everything. Those poor people don't deserve this. They're looking for maybe the number one pick in the NFL draft if things break their way today. If they lose and Tennessee loses. So, just another long, dreary winter in Cleveland.
All right, go ahead, Craig.
It's just amazing. They've tried every way to regenerate that, too. They went with the proven talent, with the Mike Holmgren as a president and, figuring he knows what to do and he can lead them. And then going with a Ray Farmer, an unproven guy who you thought maybe young talent coming in there. It's really difficult to figure out what's the right way to go. I feel badly for Jimmy Haslam. It's going to be tough to figure out which way is the right way to go.
Yeah, we wish him a lot of luck. Obviously, he's got some Pittsburgh connections, and I think the league's better off when the Cleveland Browns and teams with that kind of history are winning. Now let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about their future. Many people believe that Coach Pettit will be fired tomorrow, called traditionally Black Monday in the NFL. Many other coaches will be probably getting their pink slips. We were talking earlier on the program, the Coons Market Black and Gold Sunday Show, who we believe could be a good fit there. Mr. Schuler's son, his name was brought up, David Schuler, by Ted Arnaud. Also, some of the other people, Urban Meyer, now at Ohio State. Greg says because he's losing all these players. And I think once he wins another national championship, and I think seals the fact that he is the greatest college football coach ever, that's my opinion of Nick Saban. He's got some ties because of Kent State, and I'd like to see him go back because he didn't really do all that bad. He just didn't hang around long enough to turn it around in Miami. But that's been the only thing on his resume that I can't stand people always bringing up and throwing in his face. I'd love to see Nick Saban go to Cleveland. You think it's a possibility?
Well, if you could bring the whole Alabama football team with him, he might have something.
Absolutely.
I think Saban had enough of the NFL. I think he's found a home in Alabama. There's no reason for him to move. It might be one of those surprise picks.
And it's crazy, when his situation, I don't know that there's enough NFL money to attract him away from Alabama. What's he making, $9 million a year, and has a contract that guarantees that he will be the highest paid college coach. So every time somebody else gets a raise, he gets one. You'll love that deal.
The coolest thing about being a college coach, forget all the bells and whistles, the deals you get with the great brand that is swoosh, Nike. I love they have the state police of whatever state escorting them off the field at the end of the game. That's kind of like Elvis has left the building.
Yeah.
I like that.
Well, sure.
See, I learned this stuff from you. I look at the big picture. You know what I mean? I frame things up. I put the story together because of how I've learned that the wonderful side of Mr. Bob Dvorak. Last thing, we're going to talk about the national championship game. Alabama, Clemson. As much as I love to see Bama win it, people like Ken Stabler and Joe Namath, Roll Tide, roll, and Nick Saban. It's nice to see Clemson there, and it wouldn't be a bad thing to see them get the championship.
Well, it's sort of like been a breath of fresh air their whole season. They could, if they win, that's 15-0, and nobody's ever done that before in a single season. Nobody gives them a chance. That's their mantra. That they're playing that with a chip on their shoulder. That could be enough, and you never know in a college game. But boy, after watching that Alabama defense just dismantle Michigan State, there's a reason why they're a touchdown pick.
I do feel for them though with that, get no respect kind of thing.
Oh.
They're undefeated. They're number one in the country. Vegas has them as a 7.5-point dog. I mean,
It's Nick Saban, guys.
Wow.
I mean, he just wins. Last thing, we're talking about Ken Stabler. If you get a chance, NFL Network Football Life, they recently did this amazing hour on him. And one of the last scenes was his youngest daughter at Raider Coliseum talking about their father and, number 12 and the whole snake phenomenon and his dad and their dad. It just brings a tear to your eye. But John Madden talking as well, who I have the most respect for, saying if he had any quarterback and 2 minutes left in a game to win, he picked Ken Stabler. 76 was the year that everybody says was the Steelers' best team that didn't win a Super Bowl. They were beaten, obviously, in the playoffs by the Oakland Raiders. How good was that rivalry, Bob? And how good was Ken Stabler?
Well, I tell you what, that's still, even though it was so many years ago, so many decades ago, you still remember those games and the knockdown, dragged out battles that they had. If it wasn't for the Immaculate Reception, you'd still be talking about Ken Stabler winning that 72 championship game. So it was just a heated rivalry. It was good, and Stabler, now, I don't know if he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he certainly was a great quarterback.
And a great competitor. I mean, he's a guy, they changed rules for him. He found ways to win. The play he's jammed up, he just rolls one forward.
Oh, then I got to tell you, the NFL Network does such a great job. They did a football life of Matt Leinart and Vince Young, two of the best who never made it. Did you see that? Basically following up after the Rose Bowl game, which Vince Young was Mr. Everything, and he ends up going into the NFL, gets Rookie of the Year honors. Leinart, shows some signs early, but they both really, not are a bust, but they don't end up living up to their success. Is there anything that network can't do? They paint such a good picture, and this was really compelling television. And you can learn so much about not just the game, but the game of life, and to see Kenny Stabler, what he went through and how he obviously ended up passing away. But the punctuation mark was John Madden at the end, as only John Madden can say, being back in Oakland. He's 26 years of age when he wins the Super Bowl championship there with a brass swashbuckling Al Davis. And now he's a man, obviously in the twilight of his life, retired from broadcasting, looking back on all those memories. And Al Davis since, has passed, and it's a whole new regime, and the thought of them going to Los Angeles and all this other stuff. And he simply says, "We love you, Ken Stabler. We'll see you in the Hall of Fame." And he walks away from the microphone. And I literally jumped up off the lazy boy and I said, "You tell him, Coach Madden. You tell him. That's what you call him."
I think they just started to scratch the surface of NFL films. Look at the material they have to work with that film library and the storylines. The one I just saw was about the merger, and they detailed that. And Joe Namath was on the sign. He had the richest pro sports contract of all time to sign with the AFL at $427,000 a year, and he made the AFL because he gave people a reason to tune in and take them seriously.
That anniversary just came and went too.
Yeah,
good
The
stuff.
really cool thing about that NFL film stuff, Rob, is they come up with interview cuts too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nobody remembered seeing
Listen,
that stuff. How they find that is amazing.
It's the only thing that will get my son off his Xbox. A Football Life. He hears that, A Football Life, and it's like the world comes to an end. The game shuts down. We sit down, break some bread, eat some popcorn, and we talk about the game. And what's amazing, he's more educated about the game from the glory years than I am because of what they do.
I think the Steelers could have their whole show on the Steeler franchise and put it together like NFL Films does with those kinds of things.
We'll leave it with this. It's that game in which he gets the ball out to Casper, or he runs it in, I can't remember, when they're playing the Steelers, I think the AFC Championship game out in Oakland, and the announcer's like, "Joe Green's got his beat on Kenny Stabler," and you see number 75 just, making that move, and he goes to lay the hit, and the snake just slithers away, and they go on to win it. That's football to me. And you were there.
I wasn't there in that particular
Well,
game, but I was there in that era.
Yeah.
Yeah. And,
When people really had great journalists that were writing stories and you couldn't wait to read the story. Nothing wrong with Facebook and Twitter, but we're not journalists, folks. These people are journalists, and you can see him in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
and dinosaurs.
Guys like Bob came up with the name for plays like that, which was Ghost to the Post, right?
Right.
Dave Casper was Ghost to the
Oh,
Post.
And
man.
the Holy Roller and the Immaculate Reception. And
You see, I said this was going to be a short video, but I got talking
Yeah,
about
well,
the NFL Network. I
how
can't
can you
help
stop? How can you stop?
I can't stop. You got to check out the NFL Network, though, and A Football Life, this recent one that I just saw with Ken Stabler. It's nothing but pure drama. Ladies and gentlemen, Greg Dolis, Vantage Management Group, Bob Dvorak of America's great newspaper, the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Thank you so much for joining us, and they're about ready to turn the lights out, so we have to leave. Check, please.